Welcome back to This is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to talk about Commander Tough Rules and Cool Interactions, episode 18. Today's episode is part 3 in a series that is focusing on all things combat phase, and this time I'm going to take a look at some things that have often wording that confuses players as to how many times a triggered ability is actually going to trigger. I see this popping up all the time when I am at stores and in the games that I'm having with other players. In fact, my most favorite deck that I have has 2 of this very thing on the commander itself, and I'll be specifically talking about that creature in this video. One thing that really got me to cover this issue, though, is a new green enchantment from the Streets of New Capenna Commander Precon called Family's Favor. So let's get started. There are a lot of triggered abilities that can happen during the combat phase. Simply the start of the combat step, declaring creatures as attackers, also things that care about creatures simply being tapped, like when a non-vigilant creature attacks. Some triggers care about creatures blocking, and then of course there are lots of triggers that care about dealing combat damage, which can get extra complicated when you involve double strike. But for now, I'm just going to focus specifically on the triggers around attacking specific things. So let's take a look at the new Family's Favor, which says, whenever you attack, put a shield counter on target attacking creature. Until end of turn, it gains. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, remove a shield counter from it. If you do, draw a card. It has a triggered ability for whenever you attack. Now let's look at another card like Karazakar the Eye Tyrant that says, whenever you attack a player, tap target creature that player controls and goad it. And then it also has, whenever an opponent attacks another one of your opponents, you and the attacking player each draw a card and lose 1 life. And then finally, let's take a look at Kindred Discovery, which says, whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. All 3 of these cards are similar in that they care about attacking, so something like Ishin to Heavens as 1 will care about them. And stay tuned for a future episode on Ishin, as there's a lot of things out there I see people getting wrong about him. All 3 of these cards also don't care if your attackers get blocked. In fact, they will fully resolve their triggers before even moving to the declare blockers step, which can be nice. To draw a nice combat trick or removal spell. But they all 3 care about something specific for how often they trigger on the attacks. Starting with Family's Favor, it's a sort of trigger that I think confuses the most people. It says, whenever you attack. So this means it will only ever trigger a maximum of 1 time per declare attacker's step. It doesn't matter how many creatures you attack with, 1 or 100. It will only ever trigger once because you, as the player, are declaring 1 attack. So now let's get more attacky. With Karazakar, he says, whenever you attack a player. So now we open it up a bit. If I have 3 creatures and I attack opponent A with all 3, Karazakar would only trigger once. But if I divide them up and I send 1 creature at each of opponent A, B, and C, then I will get 3 triggers from Karazakar's first ability, but it doesn't matter how many creatures go at each of these opponents. I'll only ever be able to get 1 tap and 1 goad of their creature. Then on his other ability, when my opponent A goes to attack, he could get up to 2 of the draw triggers by attacking my opponents B and C. But again, no matter how many creatures he sends at each of them, he'll only get 1 draw per opponent, so a maximum of 2 draws. And now the most attacky. Kindred Discovery says that whenever we attack with a creature of the chosen type, we must draw a card. There is no player or opponent restriction here. In fact, we can even attack a Planeswalker, unlike with Karazagar. Attacking a single opponent, attacking all of my opponents, 1 creature at them, or 10 creatures at them. For every single creature that is declared as an attacker, you will get a card draw. Note that Double Strike does not impact these sorts of attack triggers, as that only cares about when combat damage is actually dealt. Well, that's all I have for today's episode. Maybe I'll get one specifically looking at combat damage triggers and some cool things that you can do with them, and things like, first strike and double strike and how that impacts it. So please do subscribe to the channel to see videos like that and other Tough Rules and Cool Interactions episodes in the future. I hope that you all have enjoyed this episode, and I hope that some of you even learned something. So yeah, have a good one. Ta-ta.